You're no use if you're frail. I try to eat a lot, but I just can't seem to gain weight. You don't have to force yourself to eat. Well, just managing to stay alive is good enough. Even when I fell ill, my mother never worried about me. It was always about whether I was useful or not. I've always felt judged in that way. My name is Mandy. I'm a 29-year-old housewife. My husband Kevin, also my age, was my classmate from middle school. He started a business young and is now a successful entrepreneur. Kevin was the one who gently reached out to me when I was going through my hardest times. Since middle school, Kevin and his parents, who were thrilled about our marriage, have always been concerned about me. Though I am happy now, I was treated harshly by my parents since childhood. That started when my mother died shortly after giving birth to me. It can't be helped. My parents are getting old, and they can't take care of a baby now. My sister never thought she'd pass away first. Are you saying I should raise a child that isn't even related to me by blood? Don't say that. We're having trouble having our own children. So let's think of her as our own. I was actually the child of my father's sister. Therefore, my father was technically my uncle. And there was no blood relation with my mother. Married for 5 years, my parents, unable to have children of their own, decided to raise me in place of my biological mother, who died soon after giving birth to me. This child has a fever again. I'm busy and now I need to go to the hospital. What a hassle. She is frail. My sister was never like this. It seems I was born weak and often fell ill. 2 years after taking me in, my parents finally had their own child. Who would have thought I could have a child? We wouldn't have needed your sister's child then. What a waste of time and money. Calm down, don't say that. When we took in Mandy, we never thought we'd be blessed with our own child. My sister Rebecca was smart and excelled academically from a young age. As a child, I adored my newborn sister and took great care of her. We remained close as we grew up. Rebecca bore the weight of our parents' expectations and was subjected to accelerated education from elementary school. Naturally intelligent, she absorbed knowledge like a highly absorbent sponge and maintained top grades through high school. Eventually, she was admitted to a prestigious science university. Rebecca, congratulations on your acceptance to the university. You've studied so hard, huh? Let's make today's dinner a celebration. I told my sister, expressing my congratulations. Well, thank you, Mandy, but we are supposed to go out to a restaurant today. Oh, I see. Then, go and enjoy some delicious food. Aren't you coming with us? I can't eat much at once, and I eat slowly. I'd just get scolded by Mom again. It's always like this for you. It's really terrible. Rebecca knew that I was not her real sister but her cousin. As I grew up, I naturally came to understand this. And our parents never hid my background from me. After a while, my parents took Rebecca and headed to the restaurant. Make sure you've cleaned up the bathroom. Don't take a shower before us, okay? It's decided that one of us should use the bathroom first. Okay, I got it. I saw the 3 of them off and settled for leftovers in the fridge for dinner. Being frail, I often missed school. Because of this, I wasn't allowed to go to university, as missing classes would be a waste of tuition. Unable to work outside, I ended up doing most of the housework instead. Although it got late, all I could do was wait for their return. My parents and Rebecca came back hours later. Come on, behave yourselves. You both drank too much. My parents said they drank too much wine, and both slumped at the entrance. Looking down at them, Rebecca said exasperatedly, "Seriously? You drank too much. In the end, it's just a nuisance to me. What kind of celebration dinner is that?" Then, turning to me, she handed me a small white box and said, "I bought a cake at the restaurant. Let's eat it together." Rebecca suggested that it was fine to let our parents sleep off their drunkenness there, and led me into the living room. After a while, our parents woke up at the entrance. "Hey, why didn't you carry us inside?" my still slurring mother shouted from the entrance. As I hurried over, Rebecca followed and said to her, "It's inefficient to move drunk people around. Wherever you take them, they'll just sleep. Wouldn't they realize their folly if they woke up where they first lost consciousness? Right?" My parents, speechless, instead told me to prepare something to eat. I made some simple soup. They complained that the taste was bland, and the soup was too watery. As it was always like that, I didn't take it to heart. "By the way, how much did you earn this month?" "I'm frail and can't work outside, so I've been working from home instead." I felt the pressure to contribute something to the household. I was saving bit by bit, thinking I needed to leave this house soon. "Not much yet, maybe about $400. That's just pocket money. If only you could work outside too. Rebecca's education will cost us more now. I'll take out student loans for my tuition. I'll work part-time, too." Relieved by Rebecca's words, my parents seemed a bit comforted. After starting university, Rebecca indeed borrowed student loans and worked hard at her part-time jobs. Even when she came home late, she always studied. I supported her secretly. Eventually, Rebecca excelled and smoothly advanced to graduate school and found a job. Around that time, an incredible incident came to light. "What did you spend it on?" my father asked grimly, interrogating my mother. "That's this idol I liked. I promised to follow him to England." "What idol?" My father was furious, not understanding her words. Essentially, my mother had been infatuated with a UK pop star for a long time, and had poured a considerable amount of money into it. Her feelings had exploded after saving for years, thinking about our tuition. That's because Rebecca said she'd go to university on a scholarship. So I thought a little spending would be okay. I was there with my mouth shut while they talked. However, my mother then turned to me and said, "If you had properly worked and brought in money, this wouldn't have happened." I felt unfairly blamed, but because of my frailty, I couldn't leave the house much, and I couldn't talk back. Then, a while later, it was discovered that my father had hidden debts too. The amount was considerable, running into a few tens of thousands of dollars. And even Rebecca accused him fiercely. "There's no point in asking, but what did you spend it on? If it's pointless to ask, then don't ask me." "Well, please don't." My father had never seemed so diminished. "Well, it might be something really bad." Rebecca said that to me, but I didn't quite understand what she meant. "Hopefully, no children that Dad made outside come knocking." Infidelity. That's what she meant by really bad. In about half a year, our parents' debts amounted to a few tens of thousands. They couldn't blame each other, so things started to calm down. But the debt didn't disappear. Thinking about what to do, my parents said something shocking. "We've decided to sell this house. Rebecca will live with us. But Mandy, you have to make it on your own from now on." I couldn't hide my surprise at their words. It can't be helped, can it? You don't work, even after all we've done for you. I was doing some work from home, earning a modest amount to contribute to the household. However, to my parents, I wasn't their real child, so they could say such cruel things. Rebecca was furious like a raging fire at their words. I will never forgive them for driving you out, Mandy. That night, I had a long discussion with her. A few days later, I left the house, dragging my heavy luggage. I was heading to the bus stop when a car pulled up beside me. Isn't that Mandy? It was Kevin, who is now my husband. Knowing I was heading to the bus stop, he offered me a ride in his car. You said you were frail, right? Carrying such heavy luggage. Where are you going? Well, I don't want to hear if it's to a boyfriend's place. I shook my head vigorously and explained everything that had happened. Eventually, Kevin drove me to the cheap hotel in the city where I was planning to stay, listening to my story all the while. Even if they are step-parents, to drive out their daughter? That's a terrible story. Kevin said that, and during my stay at that hotel, he took me out to eat almost every day. After I left, my parents sold our house and made my sister take out a mortgage for a new apartment. It's a relief that Rebecca works at a famous company. We got the mortgage easily, and now we can live in such a lovely apartment in a prime location in the city center. In exchange, I've taken on a huge debt. Well, I will do some part-time work at least. Well, there's a new restaurant nearby that opened today. Let's try it out. We have money from selling the house. By driving me out and selling the house, my parents paid off their debts. After losing their home, they depended on Rebecca working at a famous company. They splurged luxuriously, and after paying off their debts, they seemed to have spent the remainder without thinking about the future. When their pockets were empty, they started counting on Rebecca's bonus. There's nothing left. What do you mean nothing? Isn't it bonus season? Our company is in trouble. Rebecca informed her parents and added, they're accepting voluntary early retirements. I might not qualify since I haven't been there long. But if I'm going to resign, I might as well get some money. The parents turned pale. Rebecca, what about the home mortgage? Of course, it'll become unpayable, so I'm planning to sell this place. What? What about us then? Are you going to rent an apartment somewhere? Then you have to take us with you. That's right. You need to do that. Since we're unemployed, we can't rent a place ourselves. Listening quietly to her parents' selfish reasoning, Rebecca slowly informed them. I worked part-time while attending college, and I've paid off most of my student loans with the money I earned. If my voluntary resignation is accepted and I receive a lump sum, I plan to enter medical school to become a doctor. She continued, having also found a place where she could work and live. Oh no, what about us then? Right. What about Mandy? She had some earnings too, right? Now that it's come to this, we must somehow get her to earn. Rebecca looked at her parents with a cold gaze and then smiled slyly. I received a call from my parents. They asked if I was doing well, or why I hadn't contacted them, always saying whatever they wanted. Mom, I'm currently. As I was about to speak, Kevin took the phone. After introducing himself, he said, Mandy is currently staying at my place. We are considering marriage. And currently. Before he could finish, my mother interrupted. Kevin. A soccer player from middle school? You were so popular, why would you be with Mandy? For a while, my mother chatted carelessly, but eventually. She fell silent after hearing Kevin's words. Our wedding is next month. We've already registered our marriage. So she's now my wife, and we won't be able to provide any support. I didn't hear anything about a marriage. After all we've done raising you. You didn't even bother to report something so important. In a fit of frustration, my mother apparently threw a tantrum. Wait, didn't Mandy tell Rebecca? Rebecca said she would tell the parents herself. Upon hearing Kevin's words, my mother turned and glared at my sister standing behind her. Rebecca had been in constant contact with me. When I confided to her about my relationship with Kevin, she immediately went to speak with him. She insisted that if Kevin truly loved me, he should register the marriage right away. If Kevin had refused, Rebecca was ready to come and get me herself. She was worried that once she could no longer take care of our parents, they would turn to me next. Later, Rebecca's application for voluntary resignation was accepted at her workplace, and she received her early retirement payment. The company wanted to retain such a young and capable employee, but Rebecca was firm in her decision. The apartment she shared with our parents was in a desirable and new location, so it quickly found a buyer. After clearing the mortgage debt, Rebecca applied to medical school and was admitted. Now, she's studying at medical school, living on site, and working part-time while aspiring to become a doctor. I want to be a doctor who can help people with frail bodies like you, Mandy, Rebecca said, determined. At the same time, our parents went to ask Kevin and his parents for a loan. Despite Kevin's warning, they came over with pale faces, having nowhere else to turn. We had been looked after by my wife's brother for a while, but we were kicked out from there too. We raised Mandy, so we have some rights to ask for help, right? You must have some money? Kevin's parents, while serving delicious food at their home, said softly. Mandy is Kevin's beloved wife, and we want to protect her. But they looked sternly at my parents and firmly rejected any further involvement. Intimidated by the attitude of Kevin's parents, my own parents shrunk back in uncertainty. Kevin's father then handed them a sum of money and said, "This money is a token of compassion. Use it to rent an apartment and start working to support yourselves. Mandy and Rebecca have both decided their paths and found happiness, right? Now it's your turn. Earn your own keep and manage your life after retirement." My parents were clearly told by Kevin's parents never to come back, and they were driven out of the house. Both looked pale and drained of blood. They probably never thought that they would be kicked out of a home like they had once done to me. If they could understand even a little of how I felt back then, there might be some hope for their future. Either way, after years of squandering, they'll need to continue working hard in their old age. From then on, I continued working from home to support my sister's dream of becoming a doctor. Instead of our parents, I diligently delivered homemade meals to her, and she was always delighted. Like this, I often visit her to support her dreams. Now, with a kind husband and supportive in-laws, and being able to support my sister, I am very happy.